Welcome, welcome everybody. We're gonna go ahead and get started. I want to make sure these things are out of the way. So welcome to Delta Magic Hour, and I know some of our participants on the call have been here before, but Joe, we do this anyway, just because the speakers, it's always the speaker's first time, and then if anyone is watching this episode for the first time, we want them to know what this is too. So at Delta Magic, our mission is always to make sure that we're highlighting the magic of the Delta by connecting those resources that build community, build positive narratives, and help foster community pride. And so why Delta Magic Hour is if somebody were to ask us that, the rationale for that and thinking behind that should fall right in line. We want to make sure that people know what's happening because there is a lot of magic going on, and I think that if you're not looking for it, you can miss it. So this is one way that we try to bring that information and that news to people, so that they can have it. So a quick introduction for our guest today. We have Joe St. Columbia today, the Dean of the Division of Applied Technology Workforce Development and Training. It's a mouthful at PC. And getting to know Joe, he has served in his current role as Dean since 2017. And in that time, he developed the TTOP, which is the Transitional Training Opportunity Program, a program that helped formerly incarcerated individuals gain workforce certifications and skills. He has also created and managed implementation of sales and customer service manager positions successfully for many industries. And as a chamber director, that's something that I loved, and I got a chance to talk to him a little bit about that today, and how that work can resonate within our community. And then his 30-year plus career and work experience have just shown him to be a proven, dynamic, and results-driven leader. And so we're going to listen to Joe today talk and share a little bit with us about workforce development as it relates to Phillips County and what he's got going on. So Joe, we're going to jump right in, and you'll have a chance to introduce yourself a little bit more, especially to this first question. Um, but what we want to start with is what inspired you to start the work or project that you're doing in the Delta as it relates to workforce.
Well, in the inter, thank you very much, Joseph. I appreciate that. And in the beginning there, when you put my bio up there, you talked about the Transitional Training Opportunity Program. And yes, it was originally started for those who are previously incarcerated, those who are on probation and parole, and we still do that. We also have another half of our program, which is called the Ready for Life program. And that program was for people who suffer from a lot of the same issues that those who are previously incarcerated. A lot of it was around poverty and those types of things, and so that we could help those people find jobs, just like we have for those who are transitioning from the we call them system impacted because they are in the system, and we're trying to get them they're ready to move on with a little bit of difference in their lives and whatnot. So the question you asked me was what inspired me. I guess I mentioned to you earlier, Joseph, when we were talking earlier today about a an opportunity I had. I was hungry one day. Went down to one of my favorite restaurants in town is Wendy's. I like to get a good old juicy hamburger every now and then. And when I went to talk to when I went to place my order, I stepped up, and because I was an entrepreneur, I was in the what we call the QSR, the quick service restaurant business. I walked up to the lady that was standing behind the counter, and I just stood there and I looked at her, and I was waiting for her to ask me to place my order, and she never really did. She just sort of stood there and looked at me. After about a minute or so of maybe might not have been an entire minute, but it seemed like an eternity, to be honest with you. She finally just sort of nodded her head at me, and I gave her one of these, back. I was waiting for her to prompt me to take my order, and I realized that very few of this happened time and time and time again at different restaurants in town and in different places. And I found out that we were so worried as quick service restaurants that we were more worried about getting the order into the system, and we expected people to rattle off what they wanted when they stood up. We didn't spend the time to actually train the employees. So that got me involved in putting together something I called Platinum Customer Service. With that, I came to the college and I decided I was going to try to help those, which in turn turned into transitional training opportunity, Ready for Life, and a lot of different programs that we put together over the years for the past 9 years.
Love it. And I feel like and getting to talk to you about that today, as you mentioned, like there's still a need for that. Which I would imagine is part of the reason why you've stuck with this career path and field for so long. It's never going out of style. I think we can always improve on that.
I really feel like that there's always room for improvement, obviously, but yeah, I think that once we slow down and we take a look at what people want, the way people want to be treated, the way
Hmm.
that we can service one another in our community would only help. And I went to work for I purposely took a job with some corporate entities, one being Sears, another one being another major retailer, a regional retailer called H. Gregg. And one of the things that they always stressed was, that customer service piece. And that's always been something that I try to help my students with. And it's a communication piece is what it amounts to as well.
I love that. And so, I mean, I was excited about this interview in particular, like I said, thinking from my chamber lens, because a lot of what we're trying to do at the chamber is, I think, a lot of what you're trying to do through your position as well at the college, which is build the workforce, not just for today, for tomorrow, thinking down the line, what's sustainable, what builds a good space for customers, for business owners, for people that are working and have options for jobs. And so the next question kind of gets into that a little bit. Do you feel like your work has a specific meaning for Phillips County, like from what you've seen so far?
That's a great question because when a potential student or what we call an incumbent worker, somebody that already works in the industry and looking to upskill, comes into my office, you know, I look at it like this. Being service oriented, I look at everyone as a potential customer. Okay. And what I mean by that is when a student comes through here, one of my first questions I don't maybe come out so directly, but I ask them, what is it that's in your life? What do you want to do with your life? What are your goals? What are your ambitions? Where do you see yourself, in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Why did you come here to see me? Okay. And I try to get them to open up to tell me what they want to accomplish with their life. Some of them want to leave town. Some of them want to stay. Some of them have ties here. Some roots are so deep that they say, I want to make Helena great. Those types of things. And so we work along those lines. Now, I also think of our customers here at the college are those industry and business partners and business leaders, because I often ask them, and I shared with Joseph one of the surveys that we have of, what are you looking for in an employee? What specific skills are you looking for? What do you expect out of an employee, out of a worker? And so what we do is, and then I also have my customers, which are my colleagues on campus that I have to work with and make them happy. So when my instructors are happy, and Candace knows this, when my instructors are happy, when my students are happy, when my business partners, our industry partners are happy, everybody's happy. That's my goal, is to try to make sure that we connect all those dots so that we don't put somebody in a dead end job, that we don't send an employee to an employer and they don't want to be there, because that's just disastrous for everybody. So it's all about trying to get everybody in that happy spot.
Yeah.
So did that answer your
It,
question?
it, it does. It does. And I think specifically here too, thinking about Phillips County, I think that it is important to show and to say everybody can win as it relates to workforce readiness, job opportunities in new industries. I think everyone can win as long as if we're thinking about how we're building the pathways into these fields, maybe even pathways to be promoted and have a career upwards as well. You wanted to add something, Joe? Something else?
No, I don't know how that came up, to be honest with you. I must have bumped
Okay.
something on
I was gonna say you didn't have to
my.
raise your hand at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, no, no.
You was a guest today.
I just saw that pop up and I go, where did that come from?
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
But one of the things,
Yeah.
Joseph, we're talking about the students and those incumbent workers. We can teach them, we can give them the all the skills they need right here at the college. We can train them, we can give them books, we can pay for their tuition. There's a lot of things we can do. The one thing that we can't do is give them the desire to go out there and do what they have to bring something to the table. And
Yeah.
so if they will only bring the desire, and that's one of the things that we're struggling with right now. And I think you're going to get to maybe a question about
Yeah.
what do we struggle with.
No,
And
yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
That's the next question. What are the challenges in the process of the work that you're doing now?
and so that's a great transition. I struggle with. I had a student, just an outstanding young man that recently graduated 2 weeks ago, and I brought him in. And matter of fact, he even brought his mother in tow with him. You know, she's trying to work on his career. She's trying to help him with his career. And I really, to be honest with you, I'm really pleased that parents are involved with their children's lives. We encourage that. But
Mhm.
he was happy to stay on his mother's couch, even though he did really well in school, made great grades, was a leader in the classroom, but he just didn't have that desire to get out there. He said, I think I'm going to just take the summer off for a while. And I said, okay, well, we can do that, but you need to go ahead and get your resume together. We need to start to get ready to place you if you don't want any more education. He said, well, I think I may want some more education. So he's thinking about maybe even coming back to school, and that's good too you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And so how when you I guess two questions from that. How all is that a prevalent issue that you're seeing a lot of, which it sounds like it is, but I don't want to assume. And B, how do you work, I guess, like, has there been anything that's been effective in terms of trying to work around that? What have you tried that might, kind of glue it together?
so yeah, and a lot of it is it goes back to the beginning interview. Every time that a student comes into my office, it's an interview process. And we a lot of times we talk to them about their desires, their goals, where they see themselves. And so that's what I do is I do my best to try to find out where they want to be, when they want to be, how they want to be, those types of things. Because if someone comes in, and another thing we do is that there's really, for lack of a better term, there's really no wrong answer. If a student comes in and they say, I want to be a welder, okay, why do you want to be a welder? Well, I like working with my hands, whatever the situation is. So they go in there in the first week, the first 2 weeks, the first month, all of a sudden they find out that, boy, there's a lot of sparks in here. This is a hot job. This is not what I expected it to be. We invite them back in the office. Okay, you don't want to be a welder. Let's try something else. How about manufacturing? How about construction? How about HVAC? What is it that you might think that you want to do? So it's okay to change your mind. And we
Yeah.
have so many students that after one semester or another, they want to change their majors. Look, I get it. I didn't go down that path, but I see a lot of students that actually, it's not exactly what they thought it was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I can personally relate to that, and I think we all can on some level. I feel like everybody kind of either, and it hits up, I'm sure, at different points, but that we all have that question: what do I want to do? Where
So,
do I
so
get
let me bring an anecdote to the table here. Back, it was almost 20 years ago. I decided that I wanted to open. This is when Subway sandwich was the only sandwich shop out there,
hmm
and so or the only major chain sandwich. There's all kinds of Lenny's and Firehouse. There's all kinds of sub places now. But back in the day, all there was Subway, and there was another minor player called Blimpies back in the day. And I thought I wanted to own some Subway sandwich shops. So I went to Milford, Connecticut, and I paid $20,000 for my first franchise fee. And I had to pay for my own lodging, and you had to go up there and you had to spend 2 weeks to go through their Subway sandwich school to learn how to build Subway sandwiches. And so I was going through their school. About 2 days into it, we found out that, and it was a classroom full of people. I bet you there were 40 people in that class, and maybe two, three, four, five people, after 2 days of going through the training, decided they were going home. Now, here's the thing. They had paid $20,000 for a non-refundable franchise fee to get up there. Their travel and all that, just to find out that they didn't want to make sandwiches. They realized, oh, this business is making sandwiches. And it's that it's so it doesn't really matter whether you're a high school student going into college thinking you want to take a welding, or if it's a entrepreneur thinking he's going to pay 20, $30,000 for a franchise fee and then turn around and tucking his tail and coming home. So, that happens. I get it.
I think, yeah, and that's why I said I don't think there's a limit to it because some people know from the time they're young what they want to do. Some people take a little longer to figure it out, and so I think that what you are doing right now through having a kind of just multiple offerings, I think that that's one of the best things you can do. And I think that I'm sure certain students are biting on certain programs because I do see an involvement, especially with the schools having concurrent courses that certain students can take while they're high school students. I think the evolution of what that looks like here around the country, especially and how our students are taking advantage of that. I think you guys are kind of on the right path in terms of just offering students those options.
Our
Absolutely.
goal, our goal within the next few years is to have high school students with concurrent credit also earning not only a high school degree, but a college associate's degree. So and that's part of what the governor is pushing right now. And she started with the Learns Act, and now she's moved into the college. And so we're headed down that path where students will have, as I was telling you earlier, one of my favorite superheroes when I was a kid was Batman. And not because he could stop bullets, not because he could fly through the air, not because he could have spider webs come out his fist. It was because he was a normal guy. Yeah, even though he was rich, but he was a normal guy. But he had this tool belt around his waist. And every time he got into a scrape, he would reach in that tool belt and he would grab something either to help him or to fight the crime or whatever. And that's the way I explain it to my students. When you leave here, you are going to have stackable skills, sort of like Batman did in his tool belt, that you will be able to use if you decide that you go through our manufacturing process, you're also manufacturing program, and you lose your job as a machinist, you can always go in and become a forklift driver because you have a forklift driving certification, or you have an EPA 608 exam behind you, and you know how to work on heating and air systems. So we try to stack those skills so they become Batman.
I love it. There's nothing wrong with being multifaceted, talented, having multiple skills at all. So I think that's another great solution for how we're tackling just dealing with the maybe the not knowing. Like having certain skills doesn't help or it doesn't hurt. I'm sorry.
That's
Um, and so if we're thinking about that being maybe one of the challenges that we are working to overcome, and we're thinking about trying to design a workforce, again, not just for today, but for tomorrow and for the future, um, how are you using the culture and history in the space that is Phillips County or that is Helena to do that? So are you pulling from specific influences as you try to steer students into certain paths?
Well, I will be honest with you. I struggle sometimes with the culture
Hmm.
because it seems like inherently The younger people these days try to get more for less as they go through their education process. And we have some few stars every now and then, but we do our best to try to I guess it goes back to matching what with what our industry partners, our business partners, our construction partners need around us, so that we can say, look, one of the first things that I do as a dean, I go into classrooms typically at the first of every semester, and I ask for a show of hands. I said, have you ever heard, or have you ever said, or have you ever had somebody tell you that there are no jobs in Phillips County? And typically, most everybody raises their hand because that they feel like that is the case. And that's a myth. The myth is that it's the furthest thing from the truth, actually. There are lots of jobs that are available in Phillips County, in eastern Arkansas. There are a lot of jobs that are available. The problem is that those jobs require skills, okay? Skills that are the people that are in our community don't have. And so it's been my experience that we try to, for instance, the Arkansas Department of Transportation had a meeting with them. They said, look, we need bridge welders. Send me all your bridge welders. Well, we don't have any bridge welders because I don't have students that are interested in welding bridges. But I got lots of jobs to do that. Okay. That there's more than jobs on at Arkansas RDOT than holding signs saying slow or stop. That they have a lot more jobs than that. And so they laid out all these different jobs that are available, and I lay out these possibilities to our students as they come through. So to change it, I guess to change that culture would be a great deal if we could get them in that mindset that, hey, look, there really are some jobs available. It's just that I need to learn those skills and have to go through the process. Look, we'll pay for it. We'll buy
Mhm.
their books for them. We'll help them, especially if they don't have the money. We
Yeah.
have scholarships available. We want everybody to go to school. And look, a college degree these days is not necessarily the college degree, Joseph, that you went through or that I went through.
Yeah.
Candace, that you went. It's a different college these days. It's a hands-on college. It's technical skills is
Yeah.
what we have available. Okay, a good
Mhm.
part of it. The Our department makes up my department rather makes up 17% of the college's overall um, uh, population or enrollment. Okay, the
Okay.
the the only other department that makes up as much or more than mine that specializes is the nursing department, and it's 17% as well. So workforce training and nursing make up 34% of the college enrollment.
I've not. That's new for me. I knew nursing was popular, but I guess now that makes y'all popular too. If y'all are if y'all are on par with the nursing department. Got it. Okay. And I mean, I think as a former teacher, former principal, I think that education today looks very different. And I think part of that is with the advancement of technology. Part of that is with just a new generation of thinking. A lot of students today don't view the traditional workforce path or career path as their goal. But you said something on the last question that I think is something that I always encourage my students to think about, that having a skill, having a trade can never hurt you. I mean, whether it's you need to know how to fix something around the house for yourself to save a couple bucks, whether it's you do that job for somebody else part time, whether that's a skill that you have to fall back on should things hit the fan, it does not hurt to have certain certifications and skills if you're able to get them.
We
Absolutely.
push industry credentials every single semester. And here's the thing. They're short term, they're quick, they're licenses. They give a student. Well, yeah, I tell you, it was sort of fun. We had a student that recently graduated as an honor student. He was one of our he was in the can't remember exactly what associate's degree he got. I want to say it was in construction technology is what he received. But not only did he receive the associate's degree, he also received certificates of proficiency, technical certificates in HVAC, in construction, manufacturing. He received certifications uh, a in forklift driving, in heavy equipment, uh, just a number of different things. Matter of fact, it was funny that you had all these students that went through these nursing programs and all these other different programs. And look, nothing wrong with nursing. Please don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say. But the problem is this guy had a litany of certificates and things that he had under his belt that made him work ready from the time he stepped off the stage with his diploma. And that's what we're after. We're after making these students so self-sufficient that they can walk off the stage and right into the workplace.
I mean, I love that, and you kind and I want to have you expand just a little bit more because that's our final question, and I ask this question differently depending on who we're interviewing and what they're doing, but um, and I think that there are implications for that specifically having students that can graduate that are work ready. What does that mean for the future? Because I know that at the college we're not about necessarily exporting talent. We want to keep talent here, and if somebody should get a job somewhere else, great. Life will take us many places. But how does that vision, what does that mean for our future here in Phillips County, when that comes to pass?
So Joseph, I mentioned to you earlier today, um, there are no more, there are no burger flipping jobs. There are no more. They're done. We got them all. Everybody's got a burger flipping job that wants a burger flipping job. Everybody's got a sweeping job that wants to sweep the floor or mop the floor, whatever. Those jobs are already taken. And those custodial jobs. And look, there's nothing wrong with those jobs. Okay, they're meant for certain levels, whether it's high school students or whatever, entry level jobs, so on and so forth. But those skilled jobs, like I was saying earlier, those are the ones that are going to take us, Phillips County, the Delta, the entire Delta to the next level. So when they have those types of skills and that type of skill training, then they can actually help move us forward. One of the things we talked about earlier today was discretionary income or uh, it gives us the opportunity to say these are the families that are no longer in poverty, that they now have discretionary income and they can go out and spend, 20, 30, $50 at Delta Dirt, to go and spend money at at a local restaurant in town or whatever. And that's what help our economy move. So I think that education and training for these jobs and skills are something that I think. I don't know if you're going to give me the opportunity, but I would love to share
Yeah.
with you guys maybe some of the things that we're doing here at what's on the radar and that we're working on. We're
And
trying.
would you need to share your screen for this at all? Because if you do, I can
I
stop
do.
sharing. I'll stop
Yeah.
sharing.
And I'm going to try to share here, and I'm going to choose. Let's see. Can y'all see that?
Not
No.
yet. So on the you would have to hit come back to the Zoom and at the bottom hit share
Yeah. All right.
and
Hold
then you would go back to that
on.
page. Yeah,
I
there we
hit
go.
share.
Now we can see it.
Now you can see this?
Yep.
Maybe I should pull up the other one first. Let me pull the other one first. Hold on a second. Here we go. This,
So you
uh,
got I think you got to pull it over
oh,
back to
you
the yep to
can't
the
see
thing.
it.
We can see the edge of it, but it's not full screen.
Is that, you can't
There
see?
we go. Now we can see it. There we go.
Now you can see it. Okay, I had to have it on the other screen. Okay, so this is our new workforce training center that will be located there on the corner of Oakland and I guess it's Campus Drive. where the old Kroger store is. I don't know if y'all know
Yeah.
where that is.
Yeah.
But we have our truck driving right there now. We recently purchased that building. Everybody sort of thought that we've owned it for a while, but we really haven't. We were just we were actually sort of gifted that parking lot to so that we could use the parking lot for training our students. But now we actually own the building, so we're going to be in the process of raising some funds to make this happen. This project is the building itself is going to be about an $8 million project, and when we get finished on the inside with the equipment and whatnot, it's going to be closer to $10 million. So
Wow.
it's something that we really want to do, and it will really, I think it'll make that corner pop. If nothing else, you know, it, with our community, if it's very rarely we get a new building in town, and
Yeah.
just work on it one corner at a time, one building at a time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you now the this will be the interior. I know it's a lot of stuff there, and it may be sort of small for you to see, but it has a lot of labs in it. It's also going to be used for our industrial partners. Our business partners will be able to come in and use this space as well. But one thing that I want to point out to you, and again, it's a little hard to see, but this little area, can you see my pointer
Yeah.
in there? That is
Yeah.
an artificial intelligence lab. And so we're going to do our best to try to get on the cutting edge of some of the things that are going on now, so that we will be using that along with cybersecurity and with manufacturing and different things. So we do training in what they call PLC training. We do CAD training with 3D printers and whatnot now. So all of that will migrate over to this, along with logistics training and some other stuff as well. It will also contain our CDL truck driving, construction labs, welding lab will be in this big space right here is our, and by the way, this is just a rendering, an architect's rendering drawing. This is not to scale by any mean, and it's not exactly what it's going to look like, but it just gives you an idea, an artist rendering maybe of what we plan on putting in there.
And I know we talked about this. Will this just be for students that attend PC?
No, we plan on using this for what we call incumbent worker training. So we do. Matter of fact, I'm working with Riceland Foods producers, both of them being in Arkansas County and Lenox right now. We're talking about apprenticeship programs with them. So what they do is, and they have hired several of our students, and we've sent them over there, and they will put on 2,000. So what they have to do is they have to agree to 2,000 hours of on-the-job training, and we give them 144 hours of what we call RTI training, which is part of the apprenticeship program, funded by the state of the Office of Skills Development. So it's really good for the industry partner. It's great for the college because we get to facilitate it, and it's a tremendous job for the student because they come out of college with a 40, 50, $60,000 job. So it's well worth the effort and and money that the state's putting into it.
I love it. I love it. And I think I think that whenever we're thinking about fixing or solving a problem, addressing a gap, filling a gap, I think the best way to do it is to provide what's needed. And I think one of the things that's needed in our community is intentional direct workforce training for several industries, especially industries of the future, which we know is going to be AI as one of those leading industries. So how do we make sure we play our part? We bring it. And so I think that this is a great idea. And I want to speak for Delta Magic for the chamber. Community partners is going to be big in this. And so we're excited about this.
So if I would, I'd like to challenge everybody that watches this. If they have an idea, if they have a desire, if they have a need, either in their business, in their industry, in the community, whether it be for profit or not for profit, if you have an idea, if you see a gap, if you see a hole if you see some way that the college can help, fill those positions, fill that gap, please let us know because we don't know what we don't know. And only through participation from the community. Look, we are Phillips Community College of the University of Arkansas. Community is in our name. This fall, you're going to see a lot of things that are going to change around here. Matter of fact, and I invite you all out to come to. It's going to be free of charge. We're going to be having a lot of community outreach. That's going to be having things every. I know back in the day, maybe some of you heard about the wine tasting things, and what we're going to have cooking classes. We're going to have wine tasting. We're going to have flower arrangement. We're going to have you name it. We're going to have different. We even got one on amateur radio and astronomy and astrology.
I
You
think I saw
you
a pickling class. I believe I saw it. Maybe.
there you go. Oh,
Yeah.
you name it. We're going to have it. So if you want to get involved or if you have an interest that you want to share with us, let us know. And we want to do those things to help our community because that's our mission. Okay, we are here for the community.
I love it. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much. I love every bit of it. If there's nothing else that you want to add to it, what we do now is we open it up for just a quick Q&A for anybody that might have any questions or comments about anything that was said today.
I'll be glad to see if I can answer it.
No pressure at all.
I'll ask something.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Um, okay, so I know this new building is very exciting. And it'll make such an impact. And I know it's still early on in the stages, but is there a timeline to where you think it'll be finished, or is it
Well,
early to
yeah,
tell?
we need to raise some funds first, obviously,
Right,
Caitlin. But
yeah.
matter of fact, we're leaving. We're gonna go around the state with our suitcase, and we're gonna be hitting a lot of the. We've already talked to some of the federal people, telling them what we're doing. We've got some individual investors we're after as well. And so we've got to get our funding underway, in place before we can actually give a date. For me to say, I don't see this happening before a fall of 27, but I'm thinking 2 years out. Once we get our funding completed, one of the things that we have trouble with, and it's not necessarily a COVID thing, but ever since COVID, okay, there are this building is going to require some electrical requirements that are far beyond the electrical requirements for a typical classroom, okay? Because we have a welding lab and some other high-powered type of things. So and they don't keep transformers for a building like this on the shelf. So we have to get in line with the company that builds transformers for this, and that believe it or not, that slows down the project, the electrical piece of this. But there are other things that sort of slow it down. But that's going to be a big one for us. So we want to make sure that we get in line as soon as we can for the electrical requirements for this building. Okay. And it could seem like, and yeah, and another thing about that, so I appreciate the question because it may seem like we get this thing, it looks really good, but it's not open yet. And that could be things like that you don't know about is usually, it's not usually somebody dragging their feet. It's because they're waiting on supplies and whatnot.
That's
Yeah.
a great question. And I know Mickey,
Joe?
I'm just going to make a real quick comment, Mickey. The chamber has found that, and I think I shared this with you, job opportunities and creation was the number one priority as far as voted by folks around Phillips County. So whether it's bond rededication, new money campaigns, I would imagine that we should not have a hard time getting support for this locally. So just wanted to make sure I said that. Thank you, Mickey. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, that's all right. Joe, thank you so much for joining Delta Magic tonight. I really appreciate what you had to say about customer service. I worked in estate planning for a few years, and we prided ourselves on giving world-class customer service. You know, it didn't matter who you were on the phone with. When somebody walks in that office, you acknowledge them and greet them. And that is sorely lacking, um, more so here than where I lived in Utah. And I really would love to see, um, customer service offered as a workshop or a class uh, to the young people in college, and also to people that are already employed in the community, uh, because it's not doesn't take that much to be better.
Okay, you're falling right into my trap there, Mickey. Several years ago, and I showed it to Joseph earlier today. I have a whole program. It's called Platinum Customer Service, and it teaches everything from the seven. We talked about the 7 steps to the sale, so it goes through that, and it goes through customer service. That's basically when I got into business back, we'll call it in the late 80s, okay? That was one of marketing was my initial major. And so that's where I started from. And so that's whenever matter of fact, when I owned my businesses, okay, with my company for 30 years, one of the things that I did is that it was a pet peeve of mine, and everybody has their own, right? But
Right.
when one of my associates picked up a telephone, whether it was Sears, Radio Shack, Subway, whatever store it was, thank you for calling Subway. This is John. How may I help you? And you had to answer that phone with a smile. And then when a customer would walk up, hey, welcome to Sears. What can I do for you today? It actually goes deeper than that. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying, and I am a big advocate of customer service. And I have put on some seminars, but I would like to see that go mainstream, and I would be glad to do it free of charge myself because I can't charge for it personally, but I can run it through the college as and we would do that if the chamber wanted to sponsor it or whatever. I would love to be able to put on a uh, a day or two of platinum customer service.
Yeah, if I were still in
Delta
business,
Magic
I'd
or
send every one of
whoever.
my employees.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect the college wouldn't expect any money from it, and I wouldn't expect any pay.
Love it. And there have been sessions that have happened, I want to say, um, through the Chamberlains of things. There's been one, and I think I mentioned that to Joe, but that's an ongoing focus for sure, Mickey, because I mean, as we think about expanding, like you're not gonna you can't have a business community without a community, and then what makes a healthy business community, those positive interactions with the community, customer care, customer service. And I think that's one of the reasons why. Um, I think people, I I feel like people kind of when we talk about Delta Dirt, I know for some folks it's like, oh, the new kid on the block and Delta Dirt does Delta Dirt that. But that's a model of what great customer care gets you. It gets you people that keep coming through those doors. And so
And talking about you.
exactly. So
And,
who doesn't want
right.
that? Who doesn't want that?
One of
Exactly.
the things that we do, if we, when I was doing quite a few of these, and people hate doing it when they first start it, but then they get used to it and they get comfortable with it, and then they can use it. And I do make them do like a role play, and so it's not just something that's academic. In other words, you learn that I'm supposed to say, "Welcome to my store," or
Right.
"How can I help you?" or whatever the case is. We have scripts for them to read, but we actually have them act it out and play with it. Okay. I was talking to Joseph earlier today, and I played with selling him a refrigerator, and so it's all about taking you down the line and walking you through that selling process, that entire process. And when you have a professional salesperson do that, you never feel like it's actually being sold. You feel like you're buying something. And that's where I try to take Mickey, I see the smile on your face. You know exactly what I'm talking about because
Absolutely,
you've been
yes.
through that training. And what it amounts to is you say, please let me buy this. Let me buy this product from you and take my money, please. And that's where you want the customer because that's when you get a customer that says, hey, let me take you to so and so, let me take you out to eat here. You need to go see my retailer. I want you to talk to my salesperson. Okay.
Yeah, that's when you
So
start saying, I got a guy for that.
I've got a guy for that. Yeah, that's right. And that's what you wanted. And we can do that here in Helena. But believe it or not, if you only have the desire to do it, it can be done. And it's so easy once you learn the formula. There's a formula to it. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Great questions. Thank you again, Joe. And thank you. Great questions, everybody. Thank y'all for coming out. Oh, and before I forget, I'm usually looking at the screen and I'm skipping the last slide. So this is a chance where if anybody has anything that's coming up in the community, we can share those ideas. I know as we Delta Magic are doing this Delta Magic Hour now. This Saturday, we're having an outdoor movie in the park. So if anybody's free and available to come to that, we'll be showing the animated film Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. So that's going to be happening this Saturday from 6 to 9, 7 to 9. Um, and I'm not sure if anybody else has anything that they want to plug that's happening in the near future.
Registration now at the college.
Okay.
Summer classes start tomorrow. And if you want to register for summer, and we also are registering for um, fall classes. So if you know of anybody, young or old, I've had people in construction, believe it or not, females at 65 years old in construction class. Well, and here's why. We have had people. I can think of two ladies that were at retirement age coming into this. One of them I remember had a husband had passed away, and he managed properties, and so the wife had to take over the business, and she felt like she was being taken advantage of by the contractors that she had to hire to fix up the apartments as that she would move the people in and out. And so she got tired of it. She said, because she started looking at the books and she says, hold on a second. My husband had this house painted. It only cost $2,000 and I'm paying four. What's going on here? And so she went through the class, not necessarily learn how to frame a wall or to run electricity or how to brick a house. She learned it so that she understood the cost of materials and all those things so that she could be better informed on how to run her business. And we have had, I know of two ladies in the past 2 years that have actually gone through that process. So anybody can be our students. We look for anybody and everybody.
Learning to drive a forklift is on my bucket list.
Come and do it. It's a 2-day process. It's going to be the week before. We're teaching that the week before the 4th of July, the 20 something. So if you really want to do that, come and visit us. We can teach you how to do it. That's for sure.
Awesome.
It's a 2-day program.
Okay.
Perfect. Anybody else? Anything else? All hearts are at peace. Well, thank everybody for coming out today, and especially big thank you to Joe. We appreciated your wisdom and your insight. And we really are excited to put this out so that folks know a little bit about what's happening with the workforce development behind the scenes. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me, Joseph. I appreciate you guys coming and joining with me tonight. Thank you.
Of course, of course. Everybody take care. Have a great evening. We'll see y'all next. The next ones we're going to be doing these last Wednesdays of every month from now moving forward. And so we'll have an update on our next guest speaker soon. So thank y'all for coming and we'll see y'all again soon in the future.
Okay.
Good evening.
Hi, Candace.
Bye.
Bye everybody.
Bye.